Hey everyone, Ben Eunson here, and today I'd like to share some more of my New York stories with you. It's been a little while since I last posted one of these videos, so in the interim I hope that you are safe and well wherever you may be in the world. I've had a lot of questions in the last few weeks about my gear, what the guitar is, what pedals I use, what amps I use, so today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my gear. Being a working musician in New York for a long time now, I needed a rig that I could really just pick up and take anywhere I needed to go. Something that would just as easily fit on the subway as it would in the back of a taxi or even in the overhead compartment of a plane. So let's start with my guitar, which is a pretty good place to start, I'd say. And don't forget to hit subscribe down below and click the bell button for notifications when I put out new videos. So this instrument is a 1982 Fender Stratocaster that I purchased at 30th Street Guitars in New York City. Now I will confess that I don't know a whole lot about it. I suspect it's a 57 reissue from 82 with a lot of modifications. A couple of which I made and most of which were already there when I got it, such as these massive jumbo frets, which to be honest are not my favorite thing in the world. But I love the sound of this instrument, and that's really what counts. One thing that I did do to this instrument, which I'm really happy with, is that I replaced the pickups in the guitar to Seymour Duncan Antiquity 2 pickups. I did that about a year ago, and I gotta say it's transformed this instrument into one that I love even more with that change. So let's take a look at the thing that I'm asked about most often, which is my pedal board. The pedal board for me is a very straightforward thing. I put it together myself. I think it's fair to say it's quite DIY. But the most important thing is it works. It really works for me. And if you've heard me play on any recording or seen me play in a video, this is what I'm running through. So let's start with the TC Electronics Polytune 2. It's a tuner. You got to be in tune before you play anything, so I reckon it's a good place to start. Next up we have the Xotic SP Compressor, which is a fantastic compressor. I don't use compression that often, but I need to have it at my disposal on some occasions. Let's try it out. Next up is the Dunlop mini volume pedal, which controls the overall volume of my signal, but I also love to use it for some of the swells you'll hear me do from time to time, so let's check that out. Next up we have the Seymour Duncan Catalina chorus. Now you won't hear me use chorus that often, but I really love this chorus specifically for certain sort of chordal, textural, dreamy sounds. Specifically this chorus from Seymour Duncan I find has a really modern, beautiful sound, but can also deliver on some of the 80s chorus that we all know and love. So let me pair it with a reverb setting right now and my volume pedal to show you some of the ways I might use chorus. So up next is the Keeley Super Phat mod pedal. If I'm using my own amps, as I am here at home usually, I usually like to get the amps to break up naturally just a little bit. I love that sound. However, if I'm touring or in certain studio situations, I won't always get to use my own amps. So in that case, I'm having to use a rental or a backline amplifier or something they just have at the studio. I usually go for a Fender Deluxe reverb. Why? Because, well, you can always count on it. You know what you're getting into with it, and they have them just about anywhere in the world, so it's reliable. The thing about the Deluxe reverb is it's a very clean amp in my experience, so it doesn't break up. So this is where the Super Phat mod comes in, and I can sort of realistically simulate an amp breaking up. That's how I like to use it anyway. So let's check it out. Next up is what is so far the longest mainstay of my pedal board, and that's the Tech 21 Oxford pedal. It's been my main drive for a long time now. If you've heard me taking any kind of solo, it's this pedal. Let's check it out. Now let's check out the Red Witch Synthotron pedal. This gives me a synthesized sound that's highly electronic. So rather than me just playing it for you right now, let me show you a little video of it in action. Now we have the Electro-Harmonix Canyon pedal, which is a delay and reverb unit that's great, but I primarily use it for this synthesized texture, which you've certainly heard me use on my album Ace. I love to use it in the context of chordal ideas. And finally, on this very small pedal board, we've got the Keeley delay workstation, which is just a fantastic delay reverb unit. It's my main delay and has been for a couple of years now. You've been hearing it running the entire time on these demos, so I think you'll get the idea. Now, depending upon the musical situation, I certainly will swap out one or two of these pedals for a different sound. Let me show you some of those right now. Let's start off with the Vertex Boost. Now, this is a beautiful clean boost. I love to kick it in at the sort of peak of a solo when I need a bit of a boost, but there are numerous other great uses for the Vertex Boost as well. And last but certainly not least is the Seymour Duncan Diamondhead pedal, which is a drive and boost in one. Sounds fantastic. It's very shortly going to be permanently on my board because I love the way this drive sounds. Let's check it out. Now let me tell you a little bit about some of my favorite amps to use. Now my favorite amps, which you will have heard me use on recordings like my album Ace and a number of other recordings, are hand-built by Michael Perez Cisneros, who is a recording engineer in New York. Just gets wonderful sounds as an engineer, but also happens to build great amps. So as you can see in this photo, there are two amps hand-built by Michael based on 1957 Fender 5E3 amps. Both of these amps are about 15 watts. And I usually like to run stereo out of the Keeley digital delay into two of these amps. And that's really about it. Now there's a good chance I'll talk to you again in a month or a year and I'll have a completely different setup. This was the setup I used on my album Ace. You'll have heard it throughout that album, or it's pretty close to it anyway. I always love to change things up. I love to experiment. And I would encourage you to experiment as well. Don't be afraid to try sounds, you know. You'll never know what you'll find out when you try something new. You might find the sound that changes your life. But anyway, that's it. I hope you stay safe, and I'll see you next time.